Hey, what's up, everybody? Hey, I got to laugh this morning because, I've been trying to queue up this morning for at least a half an hour. And, you got to love technology, right? The technology gets created so that we makes things simpler and easier. And sometimes it just doesn't. And I know I'm late this morning. But welcome to the Mic Drop Show. Hey, we're here every Wednesday morning at 7:30 Pacific, 9:30 Central, and 10:30 Eastern time. So if you're somewhere in those time zones, welcome. And if you're new to the show, you know what? And somebody told you about it, thank them for telling you about it. Because this morning I'm going to say, buckle up. We're going to do something a little bit different. We've been talking the last several weeks about creative structure and real estate and how do we buy real estate with little and no money down. Today, we're going to kind of shift the focus a little bit. I have a good friend of mine, Jason Stafford from New York, who's home snowbound this morning because we're going to talk about his book, Win Your Day, the blueprint for human reinvention. And you know what? I think sometimes in our lives, we always get to that point where we need to be reinvented a little bit. But glad you're here. Let me bring Jason in. Let's get this rolling this morning. Jason, what's up, buddy?
Mike, always great to be here. And that introduction, again, the lead in for the show, I feel like a rock star just being here with you this morning.
Yeah. You know what? I got to tell you that you and I connected a number of years ago. We've just built this relationship. And, it's funny because, we're both professional at this. And it's been a technology disaster this morning. And I'm trying to log on, my camera saying camera in use. My camera's not in use. It's not, there's no picture, and I'm rebooting and shutting off and shutting everything down, and it's just crazy. And I don't know what I did to get it to work, but we're here. So thank you. Praise the Lord for that. Hey, so you're stuck at home, man. How much snow do you guys have?
It's two consecutive, snowstorms. This last one was over 20 inches. And with the snow drifts and everything, it was insane. And then we got a little bit of snow this morning on top of that. So, the last couple of days were just absolutely a nightmare because, they had the kids off from school and then remote learning. And, we couldn't go anywhere. It was just like the pandemic, just it's trying to figure out life. And, that's the reality, is that you have these disruptions and you just have to adjust and accommodate, what's going on at the moment. And, but here we are.
Yeah, life certainly throws us curveballs at times, doesn't it?
That's exactly right.
So I'm super stoked about you being here. And what's interesting is you and I didn't have 2 minutes to talk about, hey, flow, or what we're going to talk about or anything. So this is raw this morning. So anybody who's listening in on any of the platforms, don't unsubscribe after this.
I promise I'll do my best to make it a great show for everyone, Mike. And
we are professional and we're behind on time. So, hey, listen, we're going to talk about your book, and I had an opportunity to read through it before you published it, and have looked through some of your notes and that, and but Win Your Day. And a lot of times people talk about winning their day by getting up and having that morning routine and what's right and what to do. And, I'm seeing a lot here about reinventing yourself, right? And, winning your day through reinventing yourself. And why don't you, tell us what inspired you to write this book, and your focus is around it and helping other people.
Yeah, great question, Mike. And as always, I'm grateful that you asked, and that I have the opportunity to be on this new version of your show. So, Win Your Day started with me and my own collapse, and I realized, my latest version of dealing with collapse, that resilience is not grit. It's not determination. Sometimes you have to step back and really understand the design within yourself, and that resilience is the superpower that all human beings have. We have this, God-given gift to be able to rise again. And when I looked at it from my own perspective, most leaders don't fall down because they're weak. They fall down because they're unstructured.
Mm.
And, I reevaluated during the time that I was writing the book that crisis stripped my identity, and it was my system, not my motivation, that was going to rebuild me. So when I wrote this book and put it together, I created it as a blueprint for people who can't afford to collapse. Entrepreneurs, investors, people carrying weight for their families in silence. It's something that I realized that crisis didn't break me. It exposed where my structure was weak. And from there, I wanted Win Your Day to help people understand in the 24 hours you have now is where everything changes. And I created a winning formula that I applied throughout the book, along with a methodology I call resilience architecture. And the winning formula basically takes effort and completion and combines it with recovery and awareness.
Mm.
And when you bring those things together and you look at how you get through the day, what are the tasks that you put down at the beginning of the day, and when do you get them done, or do you get them done by the end of the day, and how does that leave you? So one of the things that the book really helps people to understand is that throughout the day, you have to reset yourself. You have to take moments where you simply breathe, recognize who you are, reevaluate your position in that moment, and look at the bigger picture.
Mm.
And the idea of resilience architecture within that is that it's the internal structure that holds under pressure. So when you're in that moment and everything feels like it's coming down on top of you, you have 5 pillars: your mental precision, your emotional power, your spiritual alignment, your physical mastery, and your imaginative strategy. Those 5 pillars are what allow you to hold under pressure and be able to move forward in the direction that you're trying to go. So let's think about it. Mental precision is being able to cut noise. Emotional power is being able to name it and move it. Physical mastery is being able to train daily for those moments. Spiritual alignment is knowing who you serve. And the imaginative strategy, is the ability to adapt as things are coming at you, exactly as the last couple of days did for me with the snowstorm and having to deal with my kids at home and all of the challenges that come up, and how you have to move your schedule and just make things work, whether or not you're prepared for them.
And technology this morning. So
And technology this morning, exactly.
I love the way that I know you're in the physical fitness world and you're a trainer, and I love the way that you incorporate some of that, belief about recovery and things like that in there. What's interesting is we've both had situations in our life, and not just one, but multiple over the years, that have caused us to have to be resilient, to have to reinvent ourselves, you know, beyond just choice, but, forced, right? Forced to adapt and accept and reinvent. And I love some of the people in your book that you refer to. You refer to Oprah, right? And like her or not, she was somebody who was a hell of an example from, somebody who came from nothing in the worst life ever to look what she created. Howard Schultz, who left Starbucks and went back to Starbucks, and Steve Jobs with Apple, right? Gets fired from Apple, goes back, rebuilds this massive company. And I absolutely love Teddy Roosevelt. And, that famous speech, the man in the arena, right?
That's right. It's not the critic that counts, it's the man in the arena. And it's interesting. I talked about this the other day with another group about the fact that everybody quotes Theodore Roosevelt, but very few people actually know his story. And that's why I put his story in the book first and made him sort of the definition of resilience architecture. Because if you look at his life, he literally had every one of the emotional, the five pillars, sort of collapse on him. And yet he was able to come back stronger each time because he rebuilt himself and he looked at crisis as an opportunity rather than as a, things fall apart and just walk away scenario.
Right.
And, one of the things that I associate really well with, in terms of not only resilience, but the idea of how it's applied. You and I are both in real estate, and I've got a background in physical fitness as well, but I apply it to real estate because underneath everything, the biggest choice most people are going to make in life is real estate, right? If they're going to buy a house, if they're going to go into business and buy a piece of land, we've both done these types of things. And for many of your listeners, I'm sure this is what they associate with. And one of the things that I always try to share with people in terms of the real estate market is that it's delayed gratification under volatility. You have deals that fall apart, you have market shifts, you have partnerships that break, you have liquidity tightening. All of these challenges are what we face on a common existence as real estate investors. And the investors who survive are not the smartest, they're the ones who have the strongest internal architecture. And when you think about it from the examples that you mentioned, in my book, like Oprah and Howard Schultz and Steve Jobs, they're not necessarily real estate investors on the surface, but underneath, everything that they had to go through and accomplish came from that same idea of moving past survival into thriving. And that's really what the idea of the blueprint is being able to reinvent yourself, not as someone who's just surviving, but as someone that can thrive with all of the challenges that go on around.
Right. Yeah, 100%. Hey, one of the comments you make is that market downturns are not are furnaces. They're not verdicts. And I love that comment because my belief is that there's no geniuses in the real estate business. There's only market cycles. And when you think back to 22, so many people in the real estate business, multiple offers and deals, whether it was residential or commercial, you're fighting for price, you're fighting for position. And the thinning of the herd because of the market cycle in the real estate business has been phenomenal. All these people that got in and thought they were geniuses because they had the wind at their back are now gone, right? Either because they collapsed or they felt it was too hard. And, I love the comment about it being a furnace because, you're tested, right? And, people ask me all the time, why don't you go do something different? I said, because I love what I do. And I know the market's going to come back, and it's coming back now, but that's another podcast. So
I can't wait to listen to that one. But you're absolutely right. The fire, is the forge. And what we fail to realize is that resilience is our fire. That's our superpower. Our ability to go through the fire and come out harder and stronger. And let's look at it from the standpoint of your worst day ever, right? When things fall apart and it's your worst day, the first thing that you do is you make the situation your identity. And you basically look at your identity as this failure that happened in your life. But now step back and look at it from the Olympic athlete who loses the gold medal because of a mistake. We just had the Olympics, and there are so many cases of this where the person who was supposed to win gold has a minor, misstep or something, and they fail. In that moment, they may absolutely embrace that failure as their identity. But the reality is they're going to wake up, and whether it's tomorrow or in a couple of days, they're obviously going to realize it wasn't the end of the world. But it's that feeling. And again, that feeling on your worst day is that you're not going to be able to get up tomorrow with any hope, with any belief that something is going to change in your favor, except for this superpower of resilience, which forces you to get up again, to be willing to walk through that fire and come out stronger. And in the book, one of the things that is that I put in a tool in each chapter for people to be able to kind of get through that challenge. With every chapter, you have a different figure that you read about in their story, and the tool really applies to what they may have done and how I built it around my own clients. So what I'm going to give you is called the 15-minute reset. The 15-minute reset is when failure happens, any type of failure. It could be a big failure. It could be exactly what happened with you this morning. The first thing is to name the problem. Technology sucks, right? The second thing is to choose your response. I'm going to figure out how to make this work if I die trying, right? To write down one action. In this case, you didn't have to write down the action. I text you, you texted me back what you were going to do. Be patient. You got it. The fourth thing is to move your body. And in the case of, this morning, obviously you were moving in your seat, but for anybody who is dealing with the crisis, stand up, take a walk, allow yourself to move, to get that energy out in some way. And then the end of the day, what I call sealing the day, is when you write down whatever actions you did or did not get done, you just reflect on them. And you seal the day by saying, I completed this today, or I, did my best to complete this today. Tomorrow, I will do 1% better. And therefore, you're acting before the emotion takes over. And that's the key. We can't control tomorrow. And yesterday is already gone. All we have is the 24 hours we're in right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think a lot of times, we short sight ourselves because we try to get so much done either in one day, 1 week, 1 month. And we forget that we have runway in front of us, and we don't ever look back and see what we did get done, and don't give ourselves enough credit for that. And I think that it's important to be able to look at that. In the real estate business, mindset is so critically important because people get discouraged like so easy, right? And I love this book because it brings a different dimension to that, and keeping people engaged, especially leaders. Leaders need to stay engaged in order to help develop other leaders. And if a leader loses his motivation, he's not developing his team or the people around him.
Absolutely. And that's such a
That's
great point, Mike, because
because
the question is always, why do successful people fail?
Mm,
And it's never, why do successful people not continue? Because all of us are going to make mistakes. All of us are going to have bad days. We're going
we're
to
going
make
to make
poor choices. It's going
it's
to
going
happen. Why does it happen? And how do we look at it as an opportunity to build back better? So, success magnifies weak wiring. Growth without recovery burns out. You and I both know this from our own failures, that when you grow quickly without really taking time to recover, without really evaluating what's going on in your decisions, mistakes happen. Your weak wiring gets, sort of caught up, and your bad choices wind up getting amplified, and everybody looks at you at the end of the day. Now, that does not mean you're a failure. It simply means that the mistake got amplified because you're in control. How are you going to respond to this mistake? What we've learned from our mistakes has made us 10 times more valuable to the people around us. And I'm sure your listeners are very, very drawn to your knowledge and wisdom based on how you've grown from those mistakes.
yeah.
Now, the second thing is looking at the effort that you put in prior to, your mistakes to where you are now. Effort without awareness misfires, right?
Mm,
So you were putting in a massive amount of effort prior to your collapse. And now look at you. Your effort is far more focused without being overwhelming to you. You're much more focused on your identity, and you're protecting yourself from burnout, making sure you're aligned with, exactly what your mission is and your purpose, in a way that your growth is far more sustainable than it was before.
yeah.
And that's leadership. That's what allows you to be able to be a model for the people that are coming up behind you. That's what your listeners may not be really drawing the connection with, is why is Mike Morawski somebody that I listen to right now? Because he models something that he's aligned to.
Mm. Man, that's a pretty heavy thought. You know, just the last line about, you model something you're aligned to. And,
Yeah,
and that goes down to core values and core beliefs, right? And who you really are. And the other thing you said is, everything that led up to the mishap, and that, really helped you to get to where you're at today more focused. Those mishaps that happen in our lives, in people's lives, are not always intentional. They, you know, you get caught in a cycle that you don't, it doesn't have to be intentional. And a lot of times it happens because you're not paying attention or watching, and I think you have to, sometimes I can have the blinders on so focused that my peripheral vision is not in tune. And so I think people need to be able to, have that 360-degree view.
absolutely. And to your point, I think that the biggest misconception about resilience is that they associate it with grit and determination, and believe that pushing harder is the answer. It's not. It's alignment, it's recovery, it's disciplined rhythm. To your point, for many of us, our mistakes had more to do with our trust in others that was misplaced.
Mm.
As we grew, as we expanded, as we put all our effort into manifesting what we believed we needed to exist, we put our trust out there, and we didn't trust the universe. We didn't trust our spiritual guides. We didn't trust ourselves. We put our trust in others with the misconception that they truly wanted that responsibility to protect us. And so, therefore, our trouble, our mistakes, our collapse went in the direction it did more because of the failure of that trust being misplaced
Mm.
and not in alignment with what our real core beliefs and real values were.
Right.
And that, again, to your point of who you are now and who you're aligned with and in how you're aligned, that's the difference. That mistake allowed you to reflect on yourself and say, where did I put my trust? What did I put my trust in? The right people? Did I put my trust in the right, objectives? And you got to reflect and be like, you know what? I need to trust myself more and have that alignment with, myself, spiritually, so that I can go in the direction that feels and looks visually the way that I want it to.
100%. Well spoken. There's a mic drop for you. Hey, uh, one last thought that you would give anybody listening in this morning that's an inspiring leader, that's a leader that's lifting people up, that's trying to build a company that is maybe feeling a little discouraged this morning.
Absolutely, Mike. Thank you for asking. I would tell them, win the internal war and the external one follows. Ownership, no blame, no waiting, no external rescue, just daily command, identity elevation, and structural discipline. That's how you win your day.
Mm.
Focus on the 5 pillars: your mental clarity, your emotional strength, your physical movement, your creative discipline, and your spiritual alignment.
Love that. Awesome job, Jason. Hey, love your book. How do people get a hold of it? I think people need to grab a hold of it. And, I love books that when I read them, read the physical book, not just listen to it on audio, but the physical book with the highlighter and dog ear pages and go back and refer back to them. I have a number of books in my library like that, and yours is going to be one of those. So, tell people how they get a hold of that book.
Absolutely. Thanks, Mike. Go to winyourdaybook.com. That is the direct page where you can buy your book. It is listed on Amazon, but it's easier to get it if you just go to winyourdaybook.com because it's self-published through Ingram Spark under my imprint, which is Resilience Universe. If you want to reach out to me, you can go to jasonsafford.com and get in touch with me there. And you can also just email me directly. It's my name, jasonsafford@gmail.com.
Hey, you know what I love is that you named one of your companies Resilience Universe. I've named one of my companies Resilience Equity. And it's just kind of interesting how that word plays into our life so much.
Sounds like there's an opportunity for an M&A between us there.
There very well could be. We keep talking about it and dinking around with it. We probably should do something soon. So,
yeah,
hey,
looking forward to that conversation.
I look forward to reconnecting soon. Appreciate your time. Appreciate you being here this morning. Blessings to you and your family. And Hope you have some fun with kids while you guys are snowed in. So,
Thanks, Mike.
have a
And
great day.
I'll leave your listeners with the final statement that collapse trains leaders and crisis is construction. Win your day.
Ooh, there's a mic drop. Have a great day, buddy.
All right.